My position there, and one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about just for a few minutes, is what's happening around the country and finding the tennis pros. It's very interesting, actually. A lot of clubs are consolidating and they're downsizing, and that's not anything new, really. How many of you are in country clubs with fitness centers? How many of you are in high schools with weight rooms, facilities? How many high school coaches do we have? Okay, but I know this was partially part of the high school track too. What I'm finding is I get a lot of calls from pros around the country where clubs are creating what they call a director of athletics position. So now, instead of being the director of tennis, they're going to be actually the director of tennis and fitness. Now, how many tennis pros in this room are certified fitness trainers? One, two out of, say, 50 people. This is something that is on its way here very quickly. Clubs are, like I said, they're downsizing, they're consolidating, they're putting tennis pros in charge of fitness centers. And the tennis pros are really at a loss on this. Many of them will go the route to actually become certified trainers so they understand it, not that they will actually spend a lot of time doing it. I spend almost 1,000 hours a year training. I train tennis players, I train golfers, I train one lady who's a world-class horse and buggy driver. If you've ever seen this go to YouTube and look at this, it's very interesting. She pulls around a two-wheel buggy, actually it's a four-wheel buggy, very small, 3,000-pound horse, in a seated sort of lock position for about 12 minutes. And so if I push you in that chair and I told you to hold your arms down, your legs straight up for 12 minutes, you can see how you do it. It's really fascinating. Point being, with the athletes, tennis athletes that we have today, they're getting better and stronger, more fit. The equipment, the game, all of it is becoming much faster than it ever has been. And so now tennis pros are having to add that extra skill set of understanding, especially when it comes to high performance players, how to train tennis players. Now, I work with high school players myself. I help train them and educate them on training as a sort of high performance player, although the high school players I work with are not that great. They're 4-0-ish, some cases maybe 4 or 5 range, just average type players. However, my club demographic, anybody know what my club demographic is? Bill Tuff. 90 plus, that's close. I don't have any tennis players under the age of 60, maybe a couple. But most of my tennis players and people I train are 65 plus. In fact, we did a survey not too long ago, and our demographic was actually closer to 69. So, if fitness is an area that should interest you, this is one of the things you're going to need to know about your club and the group of people you're working with, because you're going to need to understand how to train seniors, juniors, middle-aged folks, 30s, 40s, because they all train differently. So what I did was, I put together this little presentation that's in your packet, and I attached some muscle groups. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to go from memory, and some exercises that you will be able to use in an individual setting. You can use them in a group setting, team setting. Anybody that's ever gone to see a college basketball game or a college football game, if you go early enough, you can see the teams do their pregame warm-ups. If you've got high-performance players that you're working with, you're going to be doing some pre-match and post-match stretching and exercising as well. I noticed here at this tournament, Thomas came out, he probably did a stretch routine, he practiced on the backcourt for 15, 20 minutes, and now he's in there playing. So, in fact, I was talking to somebody this morning about getting some extra equipment, and all the equipment that you see here is in the fitness center being used by the tour guides. So they're all using virtually everything you see here on the floor. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to pluck out a couple of stool pigeons and run through these exercises with you and answer any questions you've got. But I want to demonstrate some of these and kind of show you how they work. Some of them are actually fairly fascinating with, for example, and again, they can be modified for various sports, basketball. We're talking about tennis here, but I use these exercises to train high-performance golfers, high-performance tennis players. So we get the things like the disc and the weighted movements and the bungee cord here. You'll get a good feel of the way we do this. And once again, a lot of these exercises can be done with a team, in a team format. They can be done in pairs. I've had some of my 2, 5, 3-0 ladies do some of these exercises as partners in different scenarios before they start their own core work. So what I'm going to do is, Nate, you want to help me? Okay. So we're going to go to your handout. Does everybody have your handout? And we'll just kind of go through these exercises. Please feel free to stop me and ask a question if you're not sure how one of these goes. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory and shouldn't have a lot of issue. One of the things I will point out though before we get started is with a lot of these exercises, and I guess, I've been a tennis pro for over 30 years. I've been in the fitness industry for just about that long as well. So I have a good working knowledge, good understanding of the fitness industry, about training, how training works. And so as I've gone to my club in Henderson, this is my 8th year there, I've had to really understand this senior demographic and really educate myself on how to train this specific group of people. And then I've had to learn how to separate it from the younger folks. And they're very different. So being able to use the 10,000 hour rule, I'm in both places. So as I do these exercises, please keep in mind that I really feel like I've got a fairly high skill set on how to modify the exercises. So I can take an exercise that might be appropriate for a 25-year-old, and then I can modify it and change it slightly and make it appropriate for a 65-year-old. It'll have a similar look, but it won't be the same thing, okay? So that's one of the things that you'll learn to do as you get a little bit more involved in the fitness end of tennis. So on the first one, Dan, you just go up here to the front. Let's go through it. We'll start at the front. It's a simple hamstring stretch. So you're going to come right here, Dan, and I want you to just arms out, and I want you just to stretch, kind of walk down, roll back. You can alternate feet, hands, go left and right. There you go. Good. So the purpose of this exercise obviously is to stretch hamstrings, and I put a little photograph there for you. Again, in a team situation, a team format, you've got your team lined up here behind the baseline, and instead of having just one guy doing it, you got 12 guys doing it, or girls. So you're just going back and forth. You can do it 2 or 3 times. Give it a chance to get to warm the muscles up and move on to the next one. The next one would be high knee reps. High steps, so you're gonna, we've done butt kicks when we were kids, high stepping, and you can also do this in a slower format. Just hands up, stretch, and move. Just move down the line again. You're moving as an individual, you're moving as a team. I actually took this exercise. You can actually do this exercise in a skipping form, where you kind of skip and raise the legs. And if you go to watch football, we go watch Oklahoma football. This is when they do every pregame. Didn't help them any. Heel walks. If you go over to the exercise 3, so we're just going to do some simple heel walks. Back and forth. Again, trying to stretch out calves and soleus. Anybody ever had Achilles surgery? Achilles surgery, I've had both tear tubes. That's not fun. That's as ugly as it gets. It's kind of like the closest thing to being shot. I actually, when it happened to me, I thought I got hit by a racket from another court. Everybody know where the Achilles tendon is, that big tendon right behind the heel. Comes down the back of your leg where the soleus is, connects to the calcaneus at the bottom of your foot. It is a big fibrous, just a big fibrous tissue. Mine was actually caused by both of them actually, by a little calcium deposit I had on the back of my heel, and it was cutting the tendon over time, kind of like cutting a piece of rope with a fingernail file. It took about a year to sever in half, and then when it went, just like this, like a piece of rope would do. And so when they do that repair, they actually come back, put the pieces together, sew it back up, and it's actually better than the original. They cleaned up the back of the heel, and so I don't have any problems with them anymore. Less problem with my heel than that. Okay, grab the yellow ball. The next one on the list, number 4, is lunging. Anybody use these lunges in your team practices? Lunges? Okay. So we've got, this is probably the first one where we can modify the exercise a little bit. So Dan, come right here. And again, if you're in let's say you're in a high school play situation, you don't have to go out and buy a lot of expensive equipment. I'm just letting him use this weighted ball to sort of keep the exercise connected, and I'll explain what that means. You don't want a bunch of flying arms when you do these exercises. You want to keep the exercises, you want to keep the movements nice and efficient. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do some straight lunges with the ball out in front of you, and just get a nice lengthy stride. Try to get the knee down as low to the court as you can. Not really necessary to touch the court. Now, okay, Dan, how old are you? 26. All right, if you're dealing with a 66-year-old, obviously this isn't going to work. Okay, so you're gonna shorten the stride a little bit and just get a little flexion in the knee, and then bring them and alternate. Make sure they bring it back to a neutral place, and then go down with the other side and go back and forth. Okay. All right. So hang on. All right. So we saw him do the straight lunge. Now let's modify it a little bit. Let's get a little bit of rotation into it. So now what I want you to do is I want you to step to the outside. I want you to step to the outside, load up this outside leg. And where do we see this? Where do we see this load? On four hands, yeah. So we want to load up and then go over, rotate over the outstretched leg. There you go. Perfect. Just like that. And again, if you're in a team situation and you don't have a lot of equipment, just have them clasp hands and go around this way, okay? You're just looking for the load on the legs and the rotational part of this. The weight is really inconsequential. You could use a ball, you could just use a tennis ball to do this, so it's pretty simple. Now, how does that feel? All right. When I watch these exercises, I also look for structural problems, okay? Slumping, bad posture. Go through it again. All right, so as you look at this exercise, I want this exercise to look like tennis rotation, okay? Load up a little bit more to the outside. Go a little bit more to the outside. There you go, just like that. And then go the other way. Perfect. All right, hold that. Okay, now, one of the apparatus I did not bring is I actually have another ball similar to this one that actually bounces, okay? So it's actually a weighted ball, but it does bounce. So we're going to use a tennis ball. All right, so now we're going to go back to this rotational movement again. And again, this is another good exercise that you can do with a partner. So if you've got teams, teams or ladies teams, high school teams, do this as a partner. So one gets out here, he's just gonna slide over maybe a step and a half to 2. He's gonna catch this ball. Now remember, the one that I'm using is a weighted ball. So it's got a little bit of weight to it, but we're just gonna do it with this tennis ball. So he's gonna slide over, rotate, throw it back. Good. Over, throw it back. Good. Over, throw it back, over, and throw it back. And again, in an effort to modify the exercises, you could take this to extremes. I mean, I I mean, we used to do this one in college where we had two balls, and they did have universities when I was young. So we roll the ball, okay? So now you're going to go over there, pick it up, throw it back. And as soon as he picks it up, the other one's on the way, okay? So now all of a sudden, we've got a little tennis-specific movement with lateral movement thrown in. And how much lateral movement do we have in a tennis match? How much movement is lateral movement? How much lateral movement is there in a tennis match? Average tennis match. 80%. Close. 70%. 70%. So you want to work with lateral movement as much as you can with your teams, okay? The fact that you can put weight in it, that's fine, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, okay? Everybody understand that? Questions on that? Questions on the rotation? Checkpoints on the rotation? Just stay right there. Take this ball. You don't have to do anything except rotate. So if I'm standing beside him and I'm watching this exercise, I want you to step out and rotate around. Stop. Okay. So I want to see this ball from behind him. Okay. Now go the other way. See, right there. If you don't see that ball, here again, and I'll get lost in this if you let me. When you're dealing with a 26-year-old, this looks great. 66-year-old isn't going to look that good. It's just not going to come around that way. Okay. So again, you just have to kind of look at it and modify the exercise to be what you want it to be, what it can be for them, okay? We're going to talk about rotation again in just a few minutes, but we're going to use the disc. How many of you jump rope? Jump rope. Have your players jump rope. Jump rope is one of the easiest, most inexpensive exercises you can do, especially for teams. I go down to Lowe's and have them cut off about 7 or 8, 10 pieces of rope, throw it on the court, and actually my ladies, which, they're my 65, they can all jump rope. They can all jump rope. Most of them can do it in either a two-foot form, 2 feet, or they just do it they can actually do it in running form. It's amazing. But jumping rope, keep that in the protocol. Squats. Squats. How many of you exercise and do squats? Great exercise. Great exercise. Go ahead and keep the ball in your hand. All right, so we're going to watch Dan do a couple of squats. All right? So I want his feet. Now he's a little bit tall, so I want your feet about shoulder width apart. Okay? Face them. Face them. All right, take a look at it. Take a look at it. And what I want you to do is I want you to push that ball out. Just push that ball out when you go down, okay? And then back up. Anybody notice anything?
Going past 90 degrees.
What's that?
He's going below 90.
He is going a little bit low. Once again, this is going to be one of those things that you'll keep an eye on for your demographic. The 26-year-old, yeah, he can go down there. 66-year-old, that's going to be a little dicey, okay? Now, the one thing that I like to see when it comes to squatting is knees evenly spaced. I don't like bowed knees this way. It puts a little bit too much strain on the anterior medial of the knee, on the inside and outside of the knee. Bring your legs in a little bit. Bring your legs in a little bit, okay? Now point the knees straight forward and go there. That's what I like to see. Nice straight back, no slumping with the back. Keep your head up. One more time. Perfect. Okay? Questions about squatting? Okay? Also, on the squat, one other thing that it's a little checkpoint. Heels should stay on the ground. I work with our golf professional as well. And I don't know, how many of you golfers? You ever heard of the Titleist Performance Institute? Anybody ever heard of that? Titleist? Titleist created this program, the Titleist Performance Institute for golf fitness. And do I put this? Sometimes I think it's the biggest scam since the donut hole. Titleist created this program so that golfers could play golf for 10 more years, for 10 extra years. So they could sell clubs for 10 more years to golfers. You know, I'm a golfer, I like golf, but I'm telling you right now, golf is in big, big trouble. We have the number 11 golf course in North Carolina. We have a beautiful golf course. Tom Fazio designed. It's great. Golf is expensive to play. Golf is expensive to learn. It's expensive to play often. The biggest problem that golf has made, and this again comes back to us, golf has done a terrible job with children. Awful. Less than awful. Their first tee program is awful. It'll never make. You ever see those commercials on TV? Who's seen the first tee commercial with Mickelson walking down the fairway? How many kids are with him? How many kids are with him? Say less than 10. Less than 10. How many kids do we have on this court today during Kids Day? Almost 200. You see how it works? We can service a huge number of kids over what golf can do. And this didn't cost a dime. This didn't cost anybody anything. I mean, this was great. 200 kids walked away from here today with this little thing in their head that said, hey, that might be fun to try. So now, hopefully, the seed has been set, and we move on from there. But anyway, let's get back. So you got me going on that one. We did the butt kick. Let's turn the page. We're on the second page now.
You were talking about the Titleist.
Yes.
Did you finish that idea? Is it successful? Are they getting people in that?
Oh, okay. We were talking about squatting. Yes.
Okay.
When you take the testing for the Titleist Performance Institute, there are 16 protocols. There are 16 tests that you take, and you're graded on each one of them. And some of them are very elementary, and some of them are quite complicated. What I'm having trouble with, and I put a few clients this past weekend through the protocols they're testing that they failed on, is things like when we're talking about the squatting. You should be able to squat without lifting your heels, for example, okay? So now I have replaced hips, both of them. So I have trouble leaving my heels down. It's tricky to keep my back straight, my head up, and still do a squat. So there are wrist flexion type drills and rotational exercises that we just did. Actually, you can almost take the test and modify it for a lot of different sports. I mean, golf, tennis, baseball, maybe. You know, I mean, you can do a whole lot like that. But anyway, let's not get too far off the track. So exercises 6 and 7, these were quad exercises. Again, we had the butt kick exercise that we did a little bit earlier. There's also, to the right there is a squat using a ball, and I didn't bring an inflated ball, but this is actually what I would consider an assisted squat. So you're against the wall, you've got the ball here, and then you're just rolling the ball up and down the wall. You can do this. You can go like to Walmart. They've got these big bins in Walmart that have these little plastic balls. They're like little beach balls. I mean, they're not very big. You take 8 or 9 of those, you throw them out to your players. They go to the fence and they just do some squatting with the ball next to the fence. The ball specifically is to help with posture. That's why we use the ball. We use the backdrop of the fence to keep the exercise uncompromised as it goes down. We did these with the kids out here today. Standing broad jumps. Now a lot of these are fitness testing protocols. Standing broad jumps. Now, I was with Ken DeHart not too long ago, and we were talking about jumping a little bit. We had the guys over at the PTM at Memphis University doing some of this. They were jumping over lines. They were jumping over doubles alleys. You know, they're just jumping back and forth. Once again, this can be a team activity. You can have your ladies, men, all these guys can do this. It's not real complicated, and you don't need any equipment to do it. Hurdle jumping, great for the 26-year-olds, not so great for the 66-year-olds. So there again, here's where we go with line jumping, that kind of thing. We'll get to the ladder in a minute. Squatting, we talked about. Weighted ball movement. I saw a YouTube video not too long ago. We're going to get into this in just a little bit. There was looked like maybe a high school or college age girl. She had a weighted ball, maybe a 4 or 5 pound ball that she was working with against a concrete wall, a backboard. So she's standing here and she's doing some squatting, some pushing with the ball up against this wall. Then you can add a rotational component to it. So she throws the ball off, catches, rotates, throws it back, at an angle, comes back, rotates, throws it back, and all of a sudden, she's created this weighted rotational exercise with a concrete wall all by herself. The weighted ball, again, is just an added extra. You don't really need to do that. The rotational movement is really what you're looking for. But here again, here's another exercise that you could do with virtually little equipment. You could also do this with a partner. So like we're doing it. Okay, so we're gonna go left and right, okay? So you're just gonna stay put. All right, so here I'm gonna make you rotate back and forth this way. So maybe we do it, he does a dozen, and then now you're gonna do it with me. Okay? So I'm gonna rotate back and go this way, and all of a sudden, we have a partnership going here, and so you just do it that way in a team type format. Let's go at the bottom. You can see the picture there. I've got the guy jumping over the lines there. Let's go to the top of the next page. We've got exercise 12, and once again, these are very elementary type stuff. Shoulder stretches. These are more static type stretches, which I sort of like and I really don't like. How many of you use tubes, banding tubes? Everybody got one of these? If you don't have one, I buy this by the roll, actually. I buy it in a big roll, and then virtually everybody comes through. I just cut a piece off and say, put this in your bag, tennis bag, golf bag, anywhere. This is what you're gonna need to do. This is very versatile in that you can tie it to a net, you can tie it to a fence, and then you can do your external rotations. You can alternate arms, do the internal rotations. There's a couple of drawings on there where you can do your service lifts this way. You can tie it to the net, and you can do 2-hand resistance rotations. You can flip around, go both directions. This will not hurt you. This is the most versatile thing in the bag here. All the juniors, all the players I work with, I just take the roll out there and cut them pieces. They've got it in their bags, and so this is a great way pre-match to warm muscles. Yes?
What's it called?
This is just simple tube. It's banding or tube. I buy this from Power Systems. Power Systems is one that I buy this from. And it just literally comes on a roll. It's like a roll of tape. I mean,
It's more of a therapy item.
and I've got a few pictures there of the way that some of these tour guys have used this exercise. You see Fed there's got the band under his foot, doing the shoulder lifts. Sharapova's doing the same thing with hers. Nadal's doing the external rotations there. And one of the other things that I've got here is kind of cool. I need one more. How many of you have seen this bungee cord thing? Anybody have used this? And Ashley, I'm going to have you take this and just go out to the side. Okay? Dan? You realize this whole thing hinges on you. Okay, you got All right, so let's go backhand down the line, okay? You're right-handed. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Okay, come back. Okay, how's it feel? Ashley, you got him?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Once again, I use this with 65-year-old women. So obviously you have to modify it a little bit, but they still use this exercise. This is one of the best ones that I use. I like this one. Yes.
Usually with that age group, what success have you seen then, or advancement in games, or is it overall fitness level
it
at that
is.
point, or is it you're actually seeing improvement in their physical games as well?
Physically, they become stronger. Their footwork becomes more efficient.
Better balance. probably.
Better balance, better stability. When we define this, I kind of jump around on this. When we define stability in athletics, whether it be golf or tennis, to me, right here is where you need to be stable. Okay? If you're wobbly in this part right here, that's a sign of instability, and you're going to lose balance. If you're hitting tennis balls and you can't hold your balance, then this is the kind of exercise that's going to help you here. As you go out to make that shot, you know, you've got to be stable. You've got to hunker down, make that shot, so that she doesn't pull you back over. Let's flip around the other way.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is to you, how much resistance, I mean, were you pulling in pretty strong, and then how tight, you know?
Yeah, like the last 2 to 3 steps I took, like I'm kind of forcing my way there.
You gotta, it's pretty tight. Okay.
Yeah.
You almost feel pulled back.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
There's one U on the court. Do you link it to the fence? What do? You don't
You
have
can,
the
you
resistance.
can if you don't have have another person.
It works.
But in a team type situation, you got plenty of people. One to hold it, one to throw. You know, actually, what I get some of my kids to do is they'll actually be the feeders as well. So then I can critique. I can stand behind it and bark instructions at him while he's doing the exercise. All right. So let's go down the line for him. Okay. Ready? All right. And again, you have to just be careful to modify the exercise to a stage that he can do it. You can't push him out too far because he's going to fatigue relatively quick. You know, he's got that weight problem too. He's got to work on. Here we go. Yeah. Good job. Speed wide. Okay, let's go. One wide. Go. All right. So you get an idea of the way that works. It works on ground strokes, you know, forehands and backhands. You could also use this on exercises working to the middle of court. Use them on volleys, where you've got to attach it to something over here, and then feed balls as he moves across the net to hit volleys on the forehand and backhand side. Okay, go ahead and take that off. Good, thanks. I believe, Clindy, do you guys sell these? Yeah, on court, off court's got these. If you're interested, it's in the I think I actually may have got this from you, but it's in the catalog. Questions about that? I've got a photograph of it here in your handout as well. How are we doing on time? Okay. Let's go to the disc work. This is really one of the cornerstones of the training that I do, especially with tennis players and golfers, and this is stability and balance. Okay, we talked a little bit about flexibility and range of motion with the bands. Now let's concentrate on a little bit of balance and stability. It's kind of interesting the way this has evolved, and I'm going to try to give you the Reader's Digest version of this. When I first started using the balance apparatus with a lot of my players, I wasn't quite sure of the sequence that I wanted to train them in. So, as simple as it sounds, we go from smallest to largest. and it seems to work okay. These little deals here, and for those of you who did Kids Day this morning, I used all of this back in the corner with the kids, and of course, they're not old enough to understand how difficult it is. So they were just jumping up on the stuff like, you know, like it's their bed at home. So the balance pods, and Dan, you can just come over here. I use, and I actually put these out of the court. I have a bunch more of them, but I set them up kind of like stepping stones. So if you've got like a dozen, maybe a couple of dozen of these, what he's going to do is he's just going to step from one to one to one, and just go balance, balance, balance. It's just like stepping over a stream. Now, the way you get the other players involved is that you got, you know, you got somebody behind moving them out to the front. So they're moving the disc out to the front as they're stepping along. So they continually are on disc, so they're doing maybe 15, 20 steps of this, and then they'll work their way back. And then they switch partners and do it again. So great balance, great stability type exercise. From there, we move to a little bit more difficult, and these are the Dynadisc or stability disc. How many of you have used these before? How was it? Find it easy, hard?
It's difficult. It depends on what you do on them. I was having the lunge with it on one leg.
Okay. One leg squat, yeah, which is quite difficult. I actually had to build, when I first started doing these, I had clients that get up on it, and when they got up on it, they were grabbing me. They were grabbing at me, but I couldn't help them. So I went out and got some a little PVC and built a stand, a little helper. So now I just slide the helper next to them. That way I can get out here, and they can do the exercises, and they lose their balance. They can just reach out and grab the helper. It slides pretty easy, and it's easy to do. Okay, so what I want Dan to do is spread those out, spread those evenly between your stance. Remember now, again, modifying this exercise to fit each individual is going to be a little bit different with everybody. Dan's tall, I'm short. His stance is going to be a little wider than mine. But you want the disc about shoulder width apart. You all know what an athletic stance is. Athletic stance, okay? Athletic stance. Athletic stance. So we want him in a stance where not only he can just balance, but we're going to make him do some stuff in a minute too. So he's going to need to be in an athletic position so he can do that. So go ahead and position both feet right in the center of that disc over that black dot. All right, now, bend your knees a little bit. You want to coordinate the amount of bend in your knees with the amount of bend in your waist. Keep your head up. Don't look at your feet. And one of the ways that we get away from looking at his feet is just get him to do something. So let's play catch.
We let him hit volley, Mike. Make him hit a volley. He's done it before.
Okay, let's play catch with one ball. Ready? Good. Okay. All right. So when he fell off the disc, which way did he go? Backwards. That's the most common direction. As soon as you stand up, you go backwards. Okay. So that's why. Here's where the stability comes in. You've got to stay in this athletic position. Head, shoulders over knees over feet. You've got to stay here to stay stable. Then you work it this way, and you tighten up your core, and you work it that way. Let's do one more with one. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Now let's get the other arm involved. You ready? Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, what else are we working on here? Hand-eye coordination, right. Okay. 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 Good. Okay. All right, now, let's turn the gas up a little bit. These are tubes, okay? So now we're going to put a weight component in it. All right, so we're going to do the same drill. These are two panels, okay? Okay. Okay. Okay, is this easy or hard?
It's a little tougher.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll make it harder.
All right, now, this is a 5-pound ball. I've also got an 8 that we use with some of the better athletes, I would say. But what I'm gonna do is, and we do this in a passing form, we use this 5 for passing, but what I want him to do with this is just some simple movements, okay? I don't need him to do a whole lot of fancy stuff here. So I want you to go back to the disc. I want you to take this ball with both hands. Now I want you to bring it up here, keep it connected, put it right on your chest, elbows out. And now what I want you to do is I want you to rotate left and right. Keep the arms parallel to the court, just go left and right. Okay? All right, now I want you to take a look at a couple of things. Look how his body is adapting to this exercise. Okay, knees are moving back and forth as he moves left to right. Okay, hold up right there, Dan. Can anybody tell me what he doesn't have the luxury of having?
His hands.
His hands? What else? What can he not do the way a tennis player or golfer can do? He can't rotate. He can't pivot. He can't pivot on the disc, okay? So where's the work got to come from? Core, absolutely. Absolutely, it's got to come from his low back and his abs. It's got to come from that core as he moves left and right. Also the legs. He's stabilizing with the legs. I'm telling you, if we left him here for 5 minutes and went to get water, he'd be exhausted from doing this. Okay? All right, hold up right there. Now, again, what I do when I use these discs is I just create movements, create exercises that disallows them to watch their feet as they do this exercise. I don't want them. How many people play tennis and watch your feet? Nobody does that, okay? So I don't want him doing that here. All right, so let's go back to the disc again, and let's do some straight up lifts. We're gonna move the ball straight up and down. Again, just a simple stability exercise. Left side, right side. Remember, anything you rotate or move from one side, move it to the other side. Do both sides. Okay? All right? Good, very simple. Again, if you have an athlete that you can increase this weight, do it. Do it. Dan can do the 8-pound very easy with this. Not very easy, but he can do it. All right, so let's do this. Remember the squat extension we did? Let's do the squat extension. Okay, as he squats, he's going to push this ball out. He's also going to remember to keep his knees evenly spaced. Don't try to go too far. Perfect. Perfect. You also want to keep an eye on his feet, okay? See how busy his feet are. You want to try to, obviously you want these feet to be as level as you can keep them as you do this exercise. Are you working?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, hold up right there. Okay, so again, you could add some, in this case, you know, if I'm working with a golfer, he's going to do a rotational movement that might look like golf. If I'm working with a tennis player, let's go back up there again. And let's take the ball, now we're not going to keep the ball connected. Okay, we're going to keep the ball a little disconnected out here, and we're going to rotate with the ball this way. Now this is very similar to the resistance exercise we did with the band, when we hooked the band to the fence. Remember where I've got it, okay? And it's even a little tougher with a little heavier weight. Okay? All right, good. Okay, now.
What age would start that drill? What age?
You saw him this morning.
Oh.
Yeah. Those kids can jump up there and do that. Yeah, it's not going to have the same benefit for the small kids, but you know the 2.5s on up. I use it all the time. Now, if you look at your drawing or your handout, you can see the picture of the girl that was throwing the ball against the wall. Okay, now. That one, we talked about it earlier, she was just, as you look at the picture, she's just standing on the ground. But you can actually do that exercise standing on the disc. And that's tricky. That's hard to do. I've done that, and we would obviously do it with a partner, but let's do that. Remember the rotation we did over there? Okay, so we're going to go left and right now, and now he's going to rotate and throw the ball back. Yeah. And see, when he masters this, he is going to be extremely stable when he gets down into his hitting zones. Yes.
So then you put the rope back on him and do this exercise.
I've done it. I've done it, actually. You can't tug very hard because it's a little bit too much, but yeah, I put some tug to it and have them do that, especially opposite side. So you're standing there pulling on the cable while he's rotating to the other side. Yes. Okay, so we go left and right. Okay, and we do a whole series of passes. I do a pass where I take the ball up over his head. You know, we're going up this way. So he's got to reach up out of his zone there and catch this ball. Okay, then we go down low, where he's got to squat down again and go that way. So everybody see that? Everybody understand why we do that and what that exercise is about? Now, if you also look at the handout, oh, where is it? The picture, you see the pods, the girl with the pods, up to her left, there is a guy on the disc hitting tennis balls. Okay? Now, I think I did this one when we were in Georgia last year. I had the guy on the court hitting balls from the disc. So go ahead and stand on the disc, and I'm going to give you a racket. So you can do this. It's not really applicable or appropriate, I think, in a ground stroke format, although you could, because he doesn't have the luxury of the pivot. Without the pivot, it really almost doesn't work. If you just want to do some easy hand feeding, maybe with the red ball, and just where he has to generate his own power from it, that's one way to go. So stand up on there, and all I want you to do is just hit some forehands down the line. Okay, here we go. And so this is really all he's going to do here. Where's the work coming from? Core, yeah. Okay, let's do a couple of backhands. You ready?
Ooh, this could be tough.
Okay. Now let's do a volley. Let's do a volley, just a straight volley. You do it down the line. Okay. Good. Okay, let's do the back side. Ready? Okay. And again, you can be creative with this. You can put him in different places on the court. I mean, you can put him behind the baseline and have him do this. So now he's got to hit full court, 78-foot forehands and backhands on these discs. That's tough. That's good core work. Then you bring the disc into the net. You can bring it halfway in. So now he's hitting long volleys. He's hitting mid-court volleys from here, or bring him all the way to the net and make him hit targets from those discs. So you can do a whole lot of things in this format. I want to do one more thing. So I said it was a progression. You go from the pods to the disc to the mother of all evil. This one is just ugly. I have so much trouble with this one. You would think being one solid or one single apparatus, it'd be a little easier to maneuver, but it really isn't. It's quite difficult because of its size. So let's just go back up, and I just want you to do a couple of exercises on this. And if you look at your handout again, there is a picture of a guy. I think he's now dead. There's a picture of a guy there that's doing the one disc. So, yeah. So you want to put one foot. You kind of want to put one foot on one side, get it set, and then come up on the other side, and then you're set. But I want you to see how difficult that is, and how different that is. You see, that's much more difficult than the single disc. Do some rotations. Just do some hand rotations. See the activity in his feet. See the instability. Again, if you can master the movements with the weighted balls, catching balls, pushing balls off of the wall and catching them on this big disc. That's a great way to train. That's a great way to train tennis players. They will get strong from doing these exercises.
Lane, how do you know how much to inflate it? Does that make it tougher? Is it easier when it's less inflated?
It is. It's a little easier.
Yeah.
You want enough so your feet can get a feel. What typically happens when I work with folks on these discs is that it's so unusual for them to be on it that their feet naturally try to grab it. So they come off, their feet begin to cramp quite a bit because they're actually trying to kind of claw their toes down through their shoes to get into the disc. Yes, sir. Well, we talked a little bit about that earlier on the handout. You know, you've got static stretching where you're just going to do slow motion type stretching, and we also got some dynamic stretching where we do the hamstring walks. We've got the bands that we use. You're going to do that pre-practice or pre-match. Yeah, but you're also going to do that post-match as well. Yeah, do that as a cool down after they play. Let's see where I am here. How are we doing on time? You getting there? Pat, where's Pat? Okay. Crap, we got a whole bunch. Okay, so all of you use, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, cones. Everybody uses cones. Use cones to do not only lateral movement, you know, hooking movements, court movement. Use cones in your practices. Ladders. You can buy ladders virtually anywhere. Walmart. I think I bought these from somewhere, Dick's or somewhere. And they also connect together. You can buy multiple ladders. You can turn them. I went to a workshop last year, an ITPA workshop, where a guy had taken these ladders and created this thing. I mean, it just went all over the place. And not only are they running through the ladders in different forms, they've got feeders set up inside the ladders feeding balls. So they're running through these ladders, hitting balls and jumping over stuff, and they got platforms that they're stepping up on and then hitting balls. So ladders are one of the things that you can be really, really creative with, especially with juniors. How many of you do alternative exercises, such as yoga and Pilates? You're going to have a tough time getting a high school kid to go to a yoga class. But for your club players, team players, I highly recommend doing some form of exercise that way. It's great for stretching. It's great for mental training. So don't leave that out. Now, at the bottom, and I just stuck these in, we talked about the band. Serve. You can see that again, another versatile way to use the band, using your service motion. You know, one of the misconceptions. In fact, I was talking to Kalinda yesterday a little bit about this, and she's got that neat little gizmo, the ball that she throws, and that's actually great for shoulder health. Shoulder health, along with doing your internal, external rotations. But if you look at the mechanics of serve, and we study this quite a bit at the ITPA, is the service motion is more of a shot motion. It's almost a shot motion, and this is another exercise that I use with the twos. So we get in that service motion, and we just push the twos this way, okay? And so as you look at his motion there, it's more of a put motion than it is an actual throwing motion, okay? So I don't use the throwing motion analogy much anymore, other than for shoulder health, which is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. What's that?
What about for your wrist?
Yeah, you can take the little weighted balls. You can do those, the bands. You can use.
How about you use with the band?
Yeah, I don't. Here they are. Curls. Yeah, you can use little hand weights. You can. I mean.
I'm all about.
Yeah, you can take rocks out of the yard and just move them this way. It's pretty simple. Somebody else? Another question up there. Okay. How many of you have weight room facilities? Have access to weight room facilities? How many of you understand how to use a weight room? You understand weight training, period. Anybody know what periodized training is? Okay. Periodized training is actually defined in a couple of different ways. One, it is a annual training process. We do this with high performance players. Did you do this, Ashley? Did you did certain things during the year? They call them microcycles and okay. Tour players do this. Tour players do this. They work in cycles throughout the year, where in their off season they're maybe doing more heavy weightlifting. As they get closer to playing time, they wean off the weights so much and they get more into cardio work, stretching, flexibility, range of motion, a lot of the stuff that we've done here. That's why none of this was available today, because they're all doing it. So learn as much as you can about weight training, especially as it applies to juniors and seniors. Okay, as I said, I do a lot of senior training, so that's no mystery to me. But with kids, it's a little bit different. Kid walks in the weight room, what's the first thing they want to do? Lift the heaviest thing in sight as fast as they can lift it, as many times as they can lift it. So this ends up being problematic for junior tennis players, and we see a ton of injuries in junior tennis players. So if you've got junior players that you're working with and they're going to weight rooms, as a tennis pro, as a responsible tennis pro, make sure you understand what they're doing and who's doing their training if you're not doing it yourself. So I put a little bonus stuff in here about weight training, machines. Also on the next page, stability ball. Stability ball, inflatable stability ball. How many of you have used these? Can't go wrong here. There's a whole slew of exercises you can do with a simple inflatable ball. Okay? And I've got a couple of charts on here. These are great core exercises, great exercises to do in the wintertime. Questions? Yes? 35 years.
Once you started.
It was kind of interesting. Like I said, I've been as a club manager, I've been around fitness for a long time, but I was never actually a certified trainer. So I went through a couple of different ones. I am certified by the International Sports Science Association, ISA, in fitness and in senior fitness, as a senior fitness specialist. I'm also certified by the ITPA as a tennis performance specialist. And I'm going to go in August to get my master's certification with the ITPA. And for those of you who don't know this, the USPTA has just made an agreement to be announced later this spring with the ITPA in a partnership that will make their whole programs a lot more accessible and a lot less expensive. So we're excited about that partnership. PTR did it last year. Ours will be a little bit different than theirs, but if you work with high performance players, and again, this is one of the things that I really feel like that I'm really in the process of mastering, is being able to modify and alter exercises for a 26-year-old to fit a 66-year-old. You have to understand how to do that, because you can't train the people the same way, okay? And so once you have the basics of fitness training or senior fitness training, whichever one you go in, then you'll clearly understand, once you start doing case studies and working with individuals, what they can and can't do. Injuries are going to play a big role in this. You're going to have to understand injuries. And that brings me to my last point. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but I've got books like this one all over my office. There's another one called Anatomy 360. And these are illustrated books that are the anatomy of the body. I can't tell you how many people come to my door on a weekly basis, knock on it and say, "Lane, it hurts right here. What's wrong with you?" And so I can't diagnose what's wrong with them, especially from the neck up. But physically, I have to understand what tennis elbow is. I have to understand why people get knee pain when it's located in a certain place. I understand shoulder anatomy and what goes wrong and what goes into a rotator cuff surgery. I've actually gone, and it's I guess it's a hazard of the job I have, but I've actually gone and seen hip replacement surgery, knee replacement surgery, meniscus surgery, shoulder surgery. I've actually watched these surgeries with the surgeons that I send patients to all the time so that I can understand it. Now, I wasn't awake when I had my shoulder surgery and my Achilles surgeries and had my hips replaced. So that's how I had to learn. But any more questions?
So there's not an online course that would help with this? I mean, we don't have 35 years.
No, I didn't answer a question. It took me probably a couple of years, maybe a couple of years to get